let's start tackling this subject. So Sunday is when it all came down, when the Lord spoketh unto us. And he said this. So we'll just go and talk about, and this is something I do want to do, is actually read what the tweet says. Okay, because I think that's what a lot of people aren't doing, or or at least not like interpreting it very well. It's not like it's almost like you read a headline in today's society and like you get the whole story right from that headline, and that's we've got like paragraphs here, so why not actually read them? So, did you want me to send that to you to get it on the screen? I can do that if you want, just so people actually have a visual aid of the tweet. I just sent it to you if you want to pull it up. Are you there? You're muted. Oh, you're getting it. Okay.
Yeah, I was getting it. Sorry.
All right. So we'll take a look at this RH tweet from Sunday. So this is when he said what he said about HEX. So HEX is much better than eHEX, the HEX on Ethereum. Why? Gas fees. Now, right there, he said HEX is much better than eHEX. Okay. That's what he said. He didn't say eHEX is dead. Abandon eHEX. Why are you holding eHEX? Emergency end stake, you idiot. Didn't say any of that stuff. He says, why? Gas fees, liquidity, slippage, common sense. Yeah. I think we all already knew all of these things. Why would you pay $1,000 to end a stake instead of pennies? Why would you want crappier order execution, buying into a thinner order book with more slippage, getting less for your money? And the same applies if you sold. How are you saving people from gas fees if they have to end stake on 2 chains instead of 1? Every start stake, end stake, or swap on the Ethereum chain robs users of money because of the abusively expensive gas fees. And the real bull run hasn't even started. He's definitely right about that, and we're all seeing that a lot right now. He says, imagine how high the gas fees on ETH might get. That money would have went to HEX network participants instead of ETH validators. What if all new buyers chose HEX instead of eHEX? What if all new buyers choose HEX instead of splitting their energy? I've told you all this before, but likely some of you don't listen so well, so I'm telling you again, HEX is the HEX on Pulse chain. The only part that sucks about saying this is that, well, I told you that you should be very careful about selling one chain for the other, because if you choose wrong, the market will punish you. Probably some people chose wrong. Pulse chain was invented to make the world a better place, and it is. So that last thing that he said, I think, is probably the most valuable one. And that's something I'll just say right now, because a lot of like investors in this ecosystem are going after a lot of like Hexagon OGs, or really people of all kind. If you talk about Pulse Chain or Hex at all, they're going after you right now. You and I steadfastly, since Pulse Chain has launched, anytime somebody that was like, hey, like I'm thinking about getting into this ecosystem, what do I do? And it's like, well, all we can do is share what we will do. And what we do is own everything. And we have said that from the beginning. I initially DCA'd. I wanted to balance everything out. Obviously, when Pulse Chain launched, you don't end up having as much Pulse or Pulse X as you may like as compared to the HEX that you've been holding for a while that you got copied. So for me, it was just buying everything equally, including the 2 hexes split down the middle, because it's exactly what Richard said. I did not want to be caught off guard anywhere. That's why for you and me, both Ewok, neither one of us are like shitting our pants because of this tweet or any news or anything like that. But anyway, I've talked enough. So yeah, what do you make of this tweet, and looking at it with nuance instead of what I think most people are doing? And what do you make of what Richard said here?
Well, I think he may have missed this whole saga. Like, how many months ago was it when it happened? I kind of wish he would have come out and said it then. I'm not a fan of the waiting, like wait and let them figure it out kind of thing. Obviously, Pulse Chain is cheaper. ETH is expensive. I read somewhere the other day that just the HEX contract alone has spent upwards of $53 million in fees and stakes, just interacting with the contract itself. Someone else had speculated that there was probably another 100 million in swaps, which we can't really tell. You can't, I don't know that you could single them out. You may be able to. It would take a lot of work. But somebody speculated that, about another 100 million in swaps and sends and different things like that. So, you're looking at about $150 million that could have been funneled into Pulse Chain. So
Mhm.
I get it. I understand. The problem for me is for new people, Ethereum is still, while it's more expensive, it's easier to get to. And I, you want to confuse the hell out of somebody and try and get them on Pulse Chain. Somebody that's never done any of this stuff before. I think Ethereum is definitely like an introduction type thing. Pulse Chain's a little bit more advanced, and I don't know that once they're over there, it's fine. It's very similar. You don't have to change your MetaMask settings unless you're bridging over. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just tough, and I think that's kind of where a lot of people started. So I get what he's saying. I completely get it. But none of his instructions, you're right, said sell your coins. You should do everything. Um, although you can tell by the market's reaction that they did.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah.
and now it's like, what do I do? Do I join the crowd? Should I jump on? Should I at least bridge my eHEX over to Pulse Chain so that it's over there? Um, Not a bad idea. At least you get it over there. It's not going to hurt anything having eHEX if it's liquid on Pulse Chain. So sure, bridge it over. At least if you want to send it and play around with some things, it's cheaper. There's also a trading pair that you can trade eHEX for PHEX and see how things play out. That way you're over there and you're not worried about the Ethereum fees. That's an option. So yeah, I mean, there were no real, I don't say clear instructions to do anything. But I think it's more like, okay, guys, new money comes in, need it to focus over here. It's cheaper. But here's the thing, code still hasn't changed. Hex code hasn't changed.
Mhm.
The T-shares are still king. I don't care what anybody says. You and I were talking about this a little earlier about, man, staking is it's not something I'm sure I want to do. And
Mhm.
for me, I still think the T shares are what makes Hex what Hex is. Without staking, I think Hex is just another token. There's really, other than the OA, which every other coin has, uh, there's nothing different about it. Staking is what Richard has even said he believes is Nobel Prize worthy. Is it? Well, I don't know. I mean, show me something that's gotten people to lock stuff up for that long, and you can't really do it. So I still say T shares are king. Um, Will the eHex side eventually even out? Well, I mean, even out. I don't see parity anymore. Definitely don't see that happening.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me interrupt you real quick.
Go ahead.
I don't think we did we think that anyway before this? I mean, like, I think the
No,
writing was kind of on the wall that people were, like, starting to accept, like, if there's $1.80 or something combined hex, it may be like $1.20 hex and, the core 60 cent eHex or something. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to blow my
Sorry.
nose.
Oh, go ahead.
But no, I don't know. Even a 2-to-1 ratio, I didn't think it would get that far out of whack. I really didn't. And had he not said anything, I don't know that it would have. I don't. I think it would have stayed fairly close. You're still going to have the people that say, "Well, we said this was better all along. This is what you should have been doing."
Mhm.
Well, that's like me telling you what you should do with your money. A- and
Right.
we frown upon that, right? I don't like to tell anybody what to do with their money. If they want to sell, they can sell. So, what difference is it between me saying, well, you shouldn't sell, all the OGs are selling, or what's the difference of saying, well, they're all over there, they're not doing it the way they should be doing it? Well, who's to say? Obviously, like I said, Richard's saying which is the better network, which one's cheaper, which one's more efficient. Why was Pulse Chain invented in the first place? Well, because ETH got out of control. And none of us want to pay these fees. I have a stake that still hasn't ended
Mhm.
from a week and a half ago because I'm waiting for gas. I refuse to pay too much to unstake it right now. So yeah, it sucks, and it sucks for everybody. But here we are. once again.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all your points. I mean, yeah, I'm still interested in both, and I mean, I understand that some people are like totally scared off of eHEX now, but I mean, again, nowhere in there did he didn't even say, he literally said Hex is better than eHEX.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yes,
Yep.
I do agree with you. I've agreed with that the entire time. That doesn't mean there is not a case for eHEX existing and not having a chart that looks like it's totally just died. You know what
Right.
I mean? Which, you know, people obviously have to buy for that not to happen, but or hold or lock up tokens and stuff like that. But that is a big thing. Like, regardless, you know, if you think about like outsiders in crypto that are looking at it. Now, I understand. I mean, like, if you can't be dumb in crypto and ignore stuff, and yeah, you should have already been aware of Pulse Chain, and that's where the opportunity we really feel is in this bull cycle. But there's a lot of people who know Richard Hart, associate him with Hex, know that there was a Hex token on Ethereum, and that's what they know. You know, now, yes, they need to do their due diligence because they're missing an even better opportunity right now, staring them in the face for this bull cycle. But it's not helpful if the guy's original creation appears to have died.
Died.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he's not. I'm not saying that is on. I'm not blaming Richard or saying that that's what he wants in any way. I'm not saying that. But PHEX maxi people are like people that have been talking about like heck, you need to embrace Hex, you need to forget about the old one and not worry about eHEX. I mean, like, you do not want that to look like a dead project. You know,
Bad
people are already
optics.
calling it a meme now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's bad optics.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm interested in buying it right now, and I'm not telling anybody else to. And I don't mean buying it with like buying eHEX. I'm saying I'm not, and I don't mean with like huge capital or anything like that. But I'm definitely interested in throwing some bullets into it because I think that it's already hit its lows. I'd be, you know, willing to be wrong, but it pretty much came back and found support and just barely touched the low that it had previously in this bear market. I'm not saying I'm staking it necessarily or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I am interested in it as a play in this cycle still. I mean, I just I just don't think that you know, FUD around it is going to get any worse than it is right now. And I think people are having a multi-day irrational response, and this is going to be forgotten about. And you can't tell me that when this ecosystem starts to pump that it's not going to too. I know
Yep.
it's going to, you
Yeah, it
know.
will. It
Yeah.
will. And you know, we still have the Bank X thing. I think if the
Yeah.
Bank X wall wasn't there, this would be a whole completely different conversation. I really do.
Go on.
I just think that if it wasn't there, um, you know, we wouldn't be worried so much um, about this big bag that's dumping on our heads. You
Mhm.
know, I think it could move a lot easier with other things. I think even just a small bit, I mean, because we already know there's liquidity pairs out there. I don't think they've pulled them from PHUX. I don't think they've taken those down. Um, they're still there as far as I know. I should have probably checked before I said that, but there was a 50-50 eHEX PHEX pair over on that side. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, it's just, yeah, I think that's the besides Richard's support, um, that's the gray cloud over our heads right now is that Bank X wall.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was the other point. Like, initially, and it's funny because again, we're so far removed from this originally happening now, but initially, I think I said this to you immediately. I was thinking like, how much of this has to do with BankX? Like, is this a psyop? You know, about what's going on with BankX? Which, for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, there, BankX is just an entity that has I never say what their plan is correctly, but some kind of silver algorithmic stablecoin
Right.
that I don't even know anything about. But essentially, they got an egregious amount of money from the Hex God Whale, apparently, in their
Right.
sacrifice phase that they're holding. And luckily, bullishly, they did show their hand and they just recently put up a sell wall, basically between, I think it was like 1.2 up to almost 3 cents
3.5.
of just eHex. And at first, with this statement by Richard, I was like, how much of this is like to psych out Bank X? And it's like, hey, good luck selling now, you know, because now they're caught with their pants down. I can't imagine that they're happy about this, you
Yep.
know. Um, So yeah, what do you make of that? I'm walking that back now. I'm not here saying that like, oh yeah, that's all this was. He didn't mean it for any other reason. That was just something I thought of first off, and could just be a nice maybe side effect of this. I don't know.
Well, I kind of hope so too. I hope they dump. Hang on,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
having a little sneezing fit here. So,
Sorry.
um, I kind of hoped it was the same. I was hoping it would make them want to just dump, get rid of it, be done, be gone, and we could move on. I think what would have happened was it would have recovered pretty quickly, had that been the original intention. But sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze again.
It's all good.
Um, but it didn't. They didn't. It's still there. We'll see how patient they are. It's not over. Obviously,
Right.
this is still days old. If it doesn't move anywhere close to it, I could still see them exiting and just taking what they can get at this point and saying, "Wash our hands of it, be done," and walk away. So that I
Yeah.
still hope it happens. I kind of do.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too. Yeah, we definitely want them to get out. I just can't imagine, it just is very unwise to capitulate with everybody else who just did. Emergency end staking and all these things just based off this tweet, which is really the most ridiculous thing of all, I think.